Hi, this is Rachel from Ray K Books, and today I'm going to be interviewing the lovely Jody Casella and Natalie Richards. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Hi. So both of you have books out. Jody, you have Thin Space, and Natalie, you have Gone Too Far. So
6 months later, I have two.
you have two. So
Yeah.
you haven't actually gone too far yet, but we'll see. So can you guys please give a little synopsis of your books?
Sure. Yeah. Do you want to go first?
I have an idea. What if we do each other's?
Ooh, let's do that.
All right. So here's Natalie's book, 6 months later, her first novel. It's about a girl who falls asleep during study hall. And when she goes to sleep, it's like the beginning of summer. And when she wakes up, wait, is that right? Yeah. And then when she wakes up, it's like winter. And 6 months have gone by, and she doesn't have any memory of what's happened. And during that 6 months, she has gone out with the boy that was the popular boy that she didn't think liked her. Her best friend is no longer speaking to her, and she has really high SAT scores and good grades. And so she has no idea what has happened. And that sets off, there's no supernatural element. It's a total thriller. What happened to her during those 6 months? That's 6 months later.
6 months later. What did happen 6 months ago?
Gone Too Far. Okay.
Jody's favorite.
Yeah, I like Gone Too Far is about a girl named Piper who is sort of like just trying to make it through the end of her senior year, and she's not that popular, and she finds this book at the beginning of the book, and it has like all these things about what mean people have done in the school. Like it's like a recording of all the mean things that people have done.
Thin book.
Yeah, and she is ready to turn it in, and then she's thinking, wait a minute, and then she starts getting texts from someone who's telling her, like, you can get revenge on these people. And so she at first kind of gets caught up in that because she's thinking like, yeah, these people have done some really mean things and they do deserve to get their just desserts. But then she maybe goes too far.
She may have gone too far now.
Right. So that's gone too far.
She has definitely gone too far. Yeah, there's a point in the book. Yeah. So Thin Space, which I love Jody's book. Thin Space is about a boy who suffers a pretty tragic loss. Can I say who he lost?
Yeah.
Is that okay with you? Okay. So he loses his twin brother. And then the book shows him walking around barefoot because he's looking for a thin space, which is an old legend. Celtic. It's a Celtic legend where you can find a thin space where, like, the space between the living and the dead world is very thin, and you can actually go through and communicate. And the main character has some things like he wants to sort out with his brother, and he just misses him, and he really has been searching for this. So it's an incredible journey of like him going through his grief and also this really very cool and kind of supernatural thing going on with the thin space. So it's awesome. I love it.
Very nice.
Look, we're tilting our heads the same way.
So you obviously are very good friends and you're authors. So where did you two meet?
Oh, yeah. We had like a love fest. Jody wrote a blog.
It was a year ago.
Yeah. She wrote a blog, and it was about process. It was about editing process. And it was really interesting. She's like, oh, hey, tell me how you guys edit books. I found these cool ways. I'm doing a presentation. And then I started reading back. I loved it, and I sent her my process, and she was going to sit next to me at Ohioana, which is the big book festival. So I'm like, oh, this is neat. That's kind of how I found her blog. Then I started looking through her blogs, and she started talking about how she, too, procrastinates writing. Like, it's this ridiculous thing with us. We wake up, and we're like, oh, we have to write. This is what we have to do. And it's this big, long process to get there. But so I had so much in common with her. I'm like, oh, she's my soul sister. And then I read her book, and I loved it.
Aww.
And I had shame spirals. And then she read my book, and she loved it.
And I had shame spirals. So we met, so we had sort of had a correspondence online, and then we met each other at this book festival in Ohio, and we had to sit on a panel with each other. So that was the first time we actually met in person. And then since then, we've like been, there's kind of like a book fair circuit, I guess, in Ohio, where all the Ohio YA writers, there's a lot of,
it's in the water here, yo. Like,
yeah, there's a lot
writers.
of really good Ohio writers. So we see each other, and like we've gone on road trips together and gone to festivals and book signings. So we've gotten to know each other over the year.
It's very nice.
It does.
So, do you guys usually meet authors at panels, or is that where you kind of network with each other?
You kind of, I think for me personally, like you meet a new one all the time. Like we already have a group of people that you just know. You've gone to a couple of book shows with them, and then almost every book show, it seems like there's a new author coming in that you're like, oh, I didn't know you, and then you do from there forward. Ohio really is a big state for authors. We have a ton. I mean, we have,
and we're very, it's
here.
a community. So there's a group of us that we like kind of look out for each other. So when there's one book festival that will come up, or if there's some kind of thing going on, like next year in October or November, there's going to be the American Association of School Librarians that's coming to town, and so there's all these librarians. So we share that information with each other, and so all the Ohio writers can participate instead of like a competition. It's a community.
Yeah, we're really blessed.
Yeah, so it's really nice.
Yeah, we have great writers in Ohio, and we really are, like she said, it's like a family. We all know each other. We see each other at the same shows. We support each other's books. It's really neat.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you got to meet each other. You're so cute together. So for both of you, how do you think you've evolved creatively?
Ooh, wait, this is when we talk about Artist
my
Way.
gosh, we're going into the Artist Way. It's gonna happen. It's just brace yourself.
Rachel. So Natalie,
Julia Cameron's book,
right?
Be like, and
so Natalie had said something about how we have like kind of an angsty procrastination process.
We're petting a dog right now.
Yeah, our dog, the dog's right here. So, but anyway, so and I didn't like that. Like, I didn't like feeling very negative about my writing, where every day was like, this is horrible, and I'm not feeling good about it. So I started doing this thing called the Artist Way, which is a 12-week course in unblocking your creativity.
Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yeah, we're like the guru people now. So I started doing it, and it's like all these exercises. It's very new agey. It makes you feel really like kind of silly and goofy, because it'll like have things like, you know, stop what you're doing and paint a picture, or play with Play-Doh.
Not kind of silly. You're going to be like,
it's really silly.
Like, go pick up a rock. Really, Julia? You want me to go
pick up a rock
right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like silly things like that. And so I started doing it, and I was like maybe 4 or 5 weeks in, and I felt like I had this huge breakthrough and felt so much better about my writing. And I was telling Natalie about it, and I said, I don't think you'll like it, because she seemed more serious than I was. And
I look so serious.
well, she seemed like someone who would think it was silly. So, but I told her about it, and so she started doing it. She's a few weeks behind me.
Yeah.
And
on week
now,
9.
yeah, so now we're like totally big Artist Way people, and we've been like getting other people to do it with us, and
we're like the evangelists of the Artist Way. Like, come to the Artist Way.
Yeah, so you asked, and that's I don't even remember what the question was now.
Well, it was about the process, right?
The question was, how do you evolve creatively?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that has been a big evolution for me, because I'm very type A. I'm like type A+. I'm not messing around. So I think it was really good for me, because I was able to, I know I look really weird because I'm totally stroking a dog, but she's over here like, this is happening now. You're going to pet me. We should get her face. She's very cute. But yeah, it really has been a big change for me, because I'm so driven that sometimes I would lose touch of the fact that I have to let myself dream a little. And the Artist Way is really good for that. Like, I think drive is so important as a writer. Like, I really do think it's critical to work very hard. But I sometimes believe that so hard that I forget the dreaming aspect and the taking care of yourself. So it's been really amazing for me. Yeah. So
it's awesome. You should check it out.
Yeah. The Artist Way, Julia Cameron. Thumbs up. 2 thumbs up.
Good to know. Good to know. So the next question that I have is, how long on average does it take to write a book?
All right, Natalie is sort of like the machine of writing, because you write really fast. I mean, you probably she might finish a book in 6 months.
6 months later, I will have gone too far.
Wait.
Then I'll have my Jody Casella. That's my new one coming out in October.
It takes me longer. But we do. I don't know. I was like, the book that I'm writing right now. It was taking me a really long time, where it might take me maybe 2 or 3 days to write a chapter, which would be 3,000 words. Now I'm writing 5,000 words in a day. So I think that I broke through something. Like, as you get closer to the end, it gets faster. And I don't know if it's that way for you.
I think for me, you know, she said 6 months, and there are times I can even, like, I can bang out a draft. And when I say poopy first draft, baby doll, I mean poopy first draft. Horrible hot mess on a plate. But I can do that really quick, maybe 4 months. But then I have an editing nightmare on my hands. So a lot of times I find that it only takes me maybe 5 or 6 months to write a book, but I'm thinking about it and writing it in my head for like 3 or 4 months before that. I'm like, what am I going to do with that? That's ridiculous. Where am I going to go there? So, because I'm not much of a plotter, I tend to kind of just write along. But there are some things I have to figure out before I can get a feel for where I'm going at all. So, yeah. Right. So I'd say 6 months, yeah, maybe, but more like 9 at least. And you've had some that have taken really long time. It just depends. Every book is, you know, kind of its own beat.
Yeah. So no, some of the, like, Thin Space I wrote in 30 days because I did it during NaNoWriMo.
Wow, that was actually my next question, if you participate in NaNoWriMo.
Yeah, I did it 4 times. I don't know if you've ever done it.
I've tried, and every time I've tried, which is a blessing, but I've had a deadline that, like, you know, like I tried last year, and then they're like, hey, we've got your edits for Gone Too Far already. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not nanoing right now. So, you know, but I have nanoed myself, just not in November. I have done, like, okay, that's all I'm doing this entire month, and I have cranked out a lot.
Yeah, so when you write a book that way, if you write a book in 30 days, it's going to be a mess. And you just have to sort of give yourself a break, sort of. Like, you're writing it, you're just trying to get it down. You're not worrying about the quality as much. It's just like, just try to get your words in, and then you can go back and you have something to revise. And so then Thin Space took another 4 or 5 months after that to revise. But so I guess that was 6 months.
Right.
Yeah.
6 months later.
6 months. Not all together, but, you know, if I looked at how much work really happened, it was probably 6 months.
That's not bad. I mean, some people take much longer.
Yeah.
Some books take much longer, too.
Yeah,
that's very true. So what is the easiest and the hardest thing about writing?
I think it's going to differ. I bet it's going to differ.
Yeah, I don't know.
The easiest thing for me about writing is talking to teens. I love my readers. So I'm, you know, some YA authors, they love the genre, but maybe they're uncomfortable in school visits and things like that. I love it. I love talking to readers. I love emailing them, tweeting with them, talking to them in person. So that's very easy for me. I love that. It's such a gift back to me. And so is a new story idea. Like, yes, I'm on it. I like it. It's shiny and new and sparkly. That's awesome. But the downside for me is the self-loathing. I am a really self-critical author.
But you're working on that.
I am working on it, but I am really hard on myself. So I can get to, you know, really every book I write, there's a place that I get to where I'm like, I hate it. I hate everything about it. And it's just hard. I think it's because I really want so much to do well for my readers that I'm never quite happy, and to a detriment. Like, that's not good. That's not a good thing. Where I am working on it. But yeah, so that's the hardest part for me, is like tackling that self-loathing.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you don't like read any bad, like 4 out of 5 reviews, or 3 out of 5 reviews at all, or no reviews whatsoever.
You know, I do read a sprinkling of reviews, but to be honest, I kind of, I do tend to avoid, you know, Goodreads for the most part, because a couple of reasons. First of all, I want readers to have their space and be able to say what they want and feel what they want. But it can be, you know, not intentionally, I don't think, but it can be just totally devastating. You can go in and just absolutely feel like crap. Like, well, I quit. I just don't want to do this at all. So I think
you don't know how it's going to hit you either, because it kind of, I think I read early reviews, and, you know, you read like the good ones and they make you feel really good. And then you read some bad ones and they make you feel bad. And then they all start to repeat. Right. So then it's like, well, why would you keep reading them? You know what I mean? Like, you're not seeing anything new. But every once in a while, I will go on there, and I get a kick out of it. So I don't, it doesn't like kick me the way it does other writers, I think. I mean, I just kind of think the book is done and it's out there and I can't do anything about it. So, and I wrote Thin Space 5 years ago. So it's so not part of me anymore that it doesn't hurt my feelings the way, like maybe the book that I'm working on right now that I'm just about to finish and I'm going to send to Natalie to look at, that will hurt me. You know what I mean? That, because it's very personal and it's just come out. So that's going to hurt me more than something that I wrote 5 years ago that there's nothing I can do to change it.
Well, I think for me, I feel like if I feel like I let readers down, like if I read a review that convinces me, and really, I've been very blessed. I have many, many amazing reviews, but there's always some bad ones. I don't care how good your book is. John Green has plenty of 1-star reviews. You know, you have them. And those, if you read them on the wrong day, they can really just make you feel like, I totally let everybody down. I trashed it. How did I do this? I tried so hard. So for me, because I am such a little responsibility junkie, that's what you get for being a type A, big fat responsibility junkie right here. I feel like I let him down, I ruined it, I bled. So that's a bad cycle. So I'm careful with myself. I do love reviews. I love that people leave them. Reader emails are better though. They're the best thing in the world, you know, when they just email you, even if they're like, I didn't understand this. It's so great to have that interaction. I love that.
I think the easiest thing for me about writing is I love that I can stay home and that this is what I do. Yeah. So I worked for a long time as a teacher, and I'm a mom, and I've had other jobs, and I love the idea that I can stay home and that this is my job now. And not job in the sense that I make money. Yeah, but job that's my work, you know, and I have an office, and you know, I get up every morning and that's what I'm going to do. Like I never liked a job. I mean, I loved teaching and I've loved other things that I've done, but I never had that feeling like waking up in the morning, like this is what I do and this is what I want to do, you know? Yeah. So now the hard part is, you know, you do go into a place every day, or at least I do, where I'm thinking like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? You know, I'm not making money, or, you know, like, so there's that aspect that, you know, the self-doubt thing, I think a lot of writers have that. And, you know, here I am working at home and I'm alone. And so it's really easy to kind of be in like a little cave where you know, like there are days when I don't leave the house at all and I don't get dressed, you know, like I'm in my pajamas.
Yeah.
But
super professional. You walk around in Star Wars pajama pants all day.
Well, no, you know what though? I have to say, this winter I discovered yoga pants, which are better than pajamas because they are socially acceptable at 3 o'clock when you answer the door for the UPS man.
I argue that my Boba Fett pajama pants should be good enough for anyone. If Boba Fett is on your pants, I feel that you should earn points for that.
I think so too.
Yeah. So that was easy and hard for me, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. So now we're going to play a game called Would You Rather. And for those of you who don't know what Would You Rather is, I would ask Jody and Natalie a question like, would you rather eat apples or oranges for the rest of your life? And they would have to answer either apples or oranges, except this is kind of a reading, writing type questions.
Oh,
so yes.
Can one of us win the game?
Oh, I want to win. How do I win? I don't think we can win, can we?
No, I'm trying to think a point system, but really there's no wrong answer.
All right.
So
we're all winners here, Jody.
Yeah, we're all winners here. So the first one is, would you rather read only trilogies or standalones?
I think standalones.
Yeah.
Do we have to say why, or is that just like, that's just the answer?
Whatever you want to do.
Well, I will answer. I think that standalones would let me read more stories.
Yeah.
You know, trilogies are really like a very, very long story, and in its own, most of them anyway. It's one kind of long story, and I want to read as many stories as I can. So standalones.
I just like the idea of a complete story arc. I like getting to the end of a book and knowing it's the end of the book and feeling like that satisfaction. And it really annoys me when there's this cliff note thing at the, not cliff note, cliffhanger, cliffhanger thing at the end, and you're like, oh, I have to wait 2 years. I do read trilogies though. Like I've read the Divergent series, I've read Hunger Games, I've read all the Harry Potters, but usually what happens is I come into it later in the trilogy or the long series, and so the books are out. And then, and then I can read them all and not feel, you know, I can have them lined up and ready. Yeah.
The second one is, would you rather read only female or male authors?
Oh,
female.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think female authors need as much support as they can get. Male authors, I have plenty that I adore, but no, I'm a girl.
You know, I have to say, I never thought about this really, but when I was in high school, I took a class where the teacher gave us a reading list, and it was classic. So it was stuff like Jane Eyre and, like, you know, not YA stuff. And she said we could pick whatever we wanted on it. And I picked what I thought were a random set of books. And I didn't think about it until later, but every single book that I picked on the list was by a female author, including George Eliot, who I thought was a man.
Wow.
Like, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And it was like I was just drawn to, I mean, you read so many books, and I used to be an English teacher, and, you know, like, there's the dead white guys, you know, like all of them, that's what you read. And I just wanted other voices and other stories. I wanted to see me in a book, and I wanted to see other people too. Like, I was reading about boys, I wanted to read about girls. And so, not that I would ever put, like, I do love John Green. I love, like, I
have Vonnegut. I mean, I love a million.
So I wouldn't, like, not read
David Levithan.
David. I wouldn't not read a male author, but I feel like I'm drawn to the female authors, I guess, just because I'm a woman. So yeah.
The next one is, would you rather shop at Barnes & Noble or Amazon?
Barnes & Noble.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Actually,
I know the right answer is Barnes & Noble here. But I buy stuff from Amazon all the time, so I guess I know.
Do you?
I do.
I don't.
Because,
I'm really careful.
Yeah, I actually shop at my independent bookstore in Columbus, which is cover to cover.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so I feel like in every town I've ever lived in, I always knew what my independent bookstore was, and that was where I used to work at a bookstore too. So, like, I definitely support bookstores.
She's like, no. She's like, she's the dog.
I know, I saw her in the background. I'm like, oh, look at
Yeah, I don't know
it's really cute. She's quite insistent. Like, you will pet me. This is happening.
Sit down. Sit. No. Okay.
Now Jody's going to fight with her dog. I also have to give a shout out to, we have Cover to Cover bookstore here in Columbus, Ohio, which is where we both live. And then we also have the Book Loft, which is amazing. A really neat place to visit because it's set in an old German house and there's 26 rooms. It's awesome. So that and I think we have another too. I'm just not thinking of it. We have a lot of good independent booksellers around our local area. And I think that's kind of the best thing. I think independent booksellers are the most passionate booksellers typically. Yeah. You know, so they're always the most fun to shop.
But so the only thing I want to say about Amazon, I'll probably get, like, you know, crucified for this, is just that there is an ease of ordering things that you maybe couldn't get at a bookstore. And I have friends who live in, like, rural areas where they can't get books. Like, they don't have a bookstore. Like, I'm going to go to Cover and buy books because that's my bookstore. But if there's something out of print or, you know, like, how am I going to get it?
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know. I guess,
like, there was a school that I did a conversation with in Valdez, Alaska, which is, and their closest, she told me their closest bookstore, I think, is 6 hours away or something like that. So it's really, I mean, they are truly completely isolated. They have one movie theater. It has one screen. They rotate movies. Like, they get it for 2 weeks. It's really neat. And they're an amazing school. I love that librarian. But I think about them and I think, well, Amazon really does have a good place in the market too for that. So
yeah.
Okay.
All right, the next one is, would you rather all books become movies or TV shows from now on?
Oh my God.
Well, that would be kind of fun, I guess, but there's so many books. I don't see them, you know, sometimes they do a good job turning a book into a movie.
Which one, though, would you want?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that's so hard.
I'm just saying, like, I like the idea of books as books, too. Like, I think there are some books that they don't work in a visual sense, or they do and it changes the whole book. Like, you've probably seen movies like that where you're like, that maybe, you know, most of the time the movie isn't as good as the book, and sometimes it's just so different because it's a different art form.
Sure. Yeah. And like I'm really worried. Eleanor and Park, of course, amazing, but I'm really worried because I think they're working on it now, or I don't know if it's in production yet, but of course that one's going to go to film. And I'm worried. I'm like, oh, my babies, you'll take them. I don't know what will happen. You know, what about that scene on the bus with the hand holding? What will we do with it? But I think for me, whether I would pick movies or TV shows, I love the fact that TV shows can continue to develop those characters. You know, you can continue to evolve. So I think for your bigger series, it would be great if they all became TV shows. But I don't think so with standalones. I would definitely want those to be movies, you know, because you want that shot. You want that end scene. You don't want to be left like, oh, what now? What next week? So.
Yeah, I didn't really answer the question.
Yeah. Did we answer that well enough?
You did. You answered it very thoroughly. Thank you so much.
Maybe too thoroughly.
We'll do thoroughly. Sorry.
No, that's fine. You have great answers. I love all your how in depth you're going. So no worries. So the next one is: would you rather read 5 pages per week or 5 books per month?
Yeah, 5 books per month.
Yeah,
that's an easy one. And we'll just stand scene on that answer.
5 books per month.
Are you sure, Natalie, that you don't want to go onto a tangent about 5?
I always want to go on a tangent. Yeah, I won't.
The next one is: would you rather only read your top 20 favorite books over and over again, or always read new ones that you haven't read before?
New ones.
Yeah, I think new ones. Even though there are some books that I do like to revisit, but there's so many books and there's only so much time, and so you do want to try to pull in as many as you can.
Everybody would be talking about one, and you'd be like, I gotta read it, and you can't. That'd be awful.
Would you rather be a librarian or a bookseller?
Well, I used to be a bookseller, and I really liked that job, I have to say. I love librarians, though. So this is where, yeah, I know. So I love librarians because the librarian saved my life, Rachel. So when I was growing up, a librarian sort of like took an interest in me and really helped me. So I have a very soft spot in my heart for librarians. I don't want to say I would want to be one necessarily, just that I love them. Yeah. But yeah, any job that has anything to do with books. I mean, if I'm not going to be a writer, then I'm going to be selling books or I'm going to be lending them out. But you know what? Now that I'm saying all that, I think I would have to pick librarian, because I like the idea of like kids, like especially kids who are poor, because I was, like being able to have access to books, and not all of them can afford to buy them.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and a librarian, you can really focus more on the passion of reading and really growing new readers and reading enthusiasm. Whereas book selling, you always have to think about the bottom line more. So I agree. Librarian.
Yeah, that's our final answer.
Final answer.
All right. The next one is: would you rather only read your favorite genre or every genre except your favorite?
Ooh. This is so tricky. So like 2 years ago, I did this thing where I made like a challenge for myself, and I put all these categories. So like you're saying, I was like, I want to read a book of short stories. I want to read one mystery. I had a whole list of things, and I tried to pull in a book for each one. And a lot of adult books too, because I was reading so many YA books, which nothing wrong with that. I love those, but I'm like, oh, I want to try to pull in other things. I want to read nonfiction. And I really liked that year because I think it sort of varied my, interest in reading. So I think that's what I would do. I think over like just reading the same, like I like contemporary realism YA, even though I don't write that, but I like that. So like Natalie's books. And so that's what I read the most of.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I like the idea of pulling in other kinds of things. I do enjoy reading, like a history thing, or, like a biography or whatever.
And so do I. Like, if you look at my top 10 books, they're always like, first of all, I have no top 10 books. I have like top million books, and then I just rotate them. But I think that for me, if I could make it a really broad genre, like you have to read creepy books. Okay, I'll do that. But otherwise, I think I wouldn't want to pinpoint it to like, well, I want to read paranormal, YA or whatever. Yeah, I think I would get tired of it. But if I can make it broad, then I would want to read what I love.
All right. And the last one is, would you rather only read physical books or ebooks?
Oh, physical. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a Kindle and I have read some books on it. I don't like the idea of not knowing how far I have in the book to go. Like I like
thing at the bottom.
I know, but I don't like I don't know. I guess I just like the whole tactile thing of it, you know, and I like to be able to look back, and I like to be able to bend pages and mark things, and I mean, I guess you can do that. Yeah, and I guess you can do that, and then you can mark things in an ebook, or no?
You can, but it's weird. It's still not the same. I think, and I like it for travel. I love it for that. Like if you're going on a trip, it sucks trying to load, 8 books in the car, or especially if you're going on an airplane. Yeah. That's really hard. So I do use my app on my phone then, but otherwise I really prefer physical books too. It's just, they're beautiful.
Plus you can get them signed.
That's true.
Yeah, you can't get them signed. So.
But you have to. When one of my favorite books or favorite series, the Mercy Thompson. I don't know if you know by Briggs. So I looked. And,
oh my gosh! I love it.
So her new Alpha Omega book came out, and it was like 27. Like it was way in the 20s, and I'm like, no. So I went online, and the ebook was only like $15.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Ironically, I have Patricia Briggs books all on my Kindle. That's one that I do have, Patricia Briggs. I have like her early ones, but I have a bunch of hers on my Kindle because it was the same thing. I'm like, I don't want to spend $85 bazillion, Yeah.
Yeah. So that concludes our Would You Rather. Thank you so much for playing. You all win. Both of you win. Congratulations.
We're tied.
You are tied. So the next question I have is, what books have most influenced your life?
Oh gosh. The one that I think right now, and this, I'm telling you, if you ask me this in 30 seconds, it will change. Like I have a ton, but I think the one that's really been on my mind lately is the Poisonwood Bible by Barbara. And it's one I read. It's not in my genre. That and maybe The Sting.
I met her.
What?
Yes.
Is she amazing?
Yes.
We're fangirling. Give us a minute. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I read that book, and I remember I never had a book. Well, that's not true. I've had many books do this, but it was one of those books where you have to just stop and take a moment to breathe because it's affecting you so much. When I closed the book, when I was done, the first time I went to the grocery store. Have you read Poisonwood Bible?
Oh, right. The grocery store.
Okay, well,
the grocery store.
It's definitely one I recommend. And when I went to the grocery store next, there's a scene in it because it's about a family that lives in Africa, in very rural Africa for a while. And it kind of talks about one of the characters going to the grocery store. It took me months to walk into a grocery store without thinking about it. Yeah. There are still certain things, like if I pick up a bottle of bleach, I think of the Poisonwood Bible. There are things that bring me back to that book because she built this world just beautifully. So
and that's one of those books that changes how you look at the world.
Yeah.
There aren't that many books that are like that. Really, I would agree that's in the top 10 books that have done that for me. Yeah. I would say going back to my childhood, this sounds really goofy, but I loved the series Trixie Belden. And I don't not Nancy Drew, but Trixie Belden. And I was 8 when I started reading them. And I just love it. They're very quiet mysteries. They're not in print anymore. They're if you went and read them now, you'd think, what are these? They're kind of dumb, But it was a very sweet family, and there were mysteries, and they were very gentle, I would say, mysteries. And there was a group of friends, and they were very close. They had a club, and as an 8 and 9-year-old, that was sort of an escape for me to read this very nice they were mysteries, and they were a little bit of a thriller, but nothing too scary. And it was just a really cool escape for me. And so,
was that your Hobbit?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So, and what was so nice is that that I had an aunt who would give me those books. So I would have like, I had 1 and 2, and then for my birthday, she'd give me number 3, you know, and like, so anyway, I love those books. And when I was older, I didn't have them anymore. And I was like, oh, I love those because they're out of print, you know. And I walked into a bookstore, a used bookstore once, and I saw the whole set on a shelf, and I burst into tears.
Wow.
I bought the whole set, and they're up in my office, and they're like, it's like a treasure for me to have those books. Now, again, like it's kind of silly because like I did read them again as an adult, and they're like, you know, but they
silly. It's reminiscing.
Yeah, it catapults me back to childhood and like puts me back to that place. So
reminds me why you want to be a writer. I have a version of The Hobbit that my dad got me for Christmas a couple years ago, and it was like a version that I first read. And it was an exact copy. And I remember when I got it, I like started shaking. You know, when I opened the book, it brought me right back. The smell was the same. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember reading this. Of course, I own like 12 versions of The Hobbit, but that's the one that's so special.
Like the illustrations and stuff.
Yeah, it was just beautiful. The cover and the J.R.R.T., like the way he does his signature in that one, is like imprinted on the cover. It was
awesome. So you guys have been saying that you read a lot of young adult books, and you're obviously adults, and there's this whole entire thing about adults should not read young adults because it's for young adults. What do you think about that?
Yeah. That's how I feel about that.
Yeah. No. Now, my thing is we're all writing stories, right? So it's you know, I want to read good stories, and I think young adult literature right now, that's where a lot of the good stories are coming from. And I think a lot of times people who are outside of, like, they don't, you know, every once in a while there's an article in the New York Times or something where someone's like, ooh, boo, young adults, and they use Twilight as an example. And I'm not knocking Twilight, I liked it. So, but they use that as an example, and that shows right there that they don't really understand the whole genre, because that was written, what, 5, 6, 7, you know, so it's like that trend isn't even a thing anymore. So I think a lot of people who are writing that or who are saying stuff like that just don't know the genre. They haven't read anything recently. They don't really understand. I think as far as teenagers reading the genre, it's the most important thing in the world for kids to be able to see themselves in books, to be able to see kids like them and kids who are not like them, to know that they have a voice. A lot of teenagers don't feel like they do. And young adult literature gives kids hope. I don't think that adult literature necessarily does that. Like, I've read adult novels like The Road by Cormac McCarthy, which is dystopian. You get to the end of that book and you want to kill yourself. I mean, it's a brilliant book, but it's dark. And then a dystopian book, a young adult dystopian, you're going to get to the end, like Feed or something. And even though it's devastating, there's a note of hope for it. And I think that's, well, you didn't ask what the difference is, but I think that might be the main difference between YA or one of the main differences. They're trying to give something for a gem, and that's.
But I think that saying that, you know, adults shouldn't read YA is incredibly offensive to the YA protagonist, as if teens don't have lives worth reading about. And I think that's incredibly offensive to me as a YA writer.
Especially teenage girls.
Right. Like, oh, teenage girl books. Why would you read about them? Right. Why in the world wouldn't I? They're the future. You know, why in the world wouldn't I be interested in what they're interested in and talking about?
What they're really doing is putting down teenage girls.
Right. So that's a problem for me, because that's my audience. I wouldn't write for them. You know, I actually address this. I have a couple of workshops that I do that are really about, like, well, why do you write for teens? Why in the world would I write for anyone else? Not that I have anything against writing for adults, but it is kind of an amazing group of people to write for, you know? You're kind of on that cusp of everything you're going to become. It's amazing. Yeah.
So thank you for that answer. You're very passionate about it.
We are. We're very passionate about it.
So the last question I have for you is, what is some advice for aspiring writers?
I have 6 words. Let's see if I can think of that.
What is it?
Read, read, read. Write, write, write.
Ooh, that's good.
That was 7 words.
Read, 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 write, write, write.
I was like, what did I do?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think, and I would also say to not get, if that's like your dream to be a writer, to to pursue it, you know? I mean, like, I'm a little older, and it took me a long time to get.
I like that you're not. I'm a little.
Yeah,
older.
I'm a little older. And but I wanted to be a writer since I was a kid. And there was a certain point where I took a detour because I thought, well, that's kind of an impossible dream.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so I tell teenagers when I go on school visits, like, don't quit. You know, it's hard, but it's not impossible. And if anyone tells you that it is, they don't know what they're talking about. I mean, people say that, and it's not true. If it's something that you really want to do, you can work toward it, and it can happen.
And email writers you like. We want to talk to you. That's something I recommend. Like, for heaven's sake, email us. We are not. I know that may not be true. That, you know, some of the really, John Green probably does not have time to answer his email, and I really understand that. He probably gets a just unbelievable amount. But many of us love getting reader emails. I want to talk to you. So, you know, definitely email writers. We want to talk.
Yeah, that's actually a really good suggestion. I was doing NaNoWriMo. I was writing a romance novel. So I emailed Larissa Ione, Gina Showalter, and like all of these romance. Yeah, like all of these romance authors. And I'm like, help me, please. I am so stuck. And they did. They like really were supportive. And it was great. So I completely agree with you. If you want to be a writer, ask questions.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think most writers, I mean, obviously can't speak for everyone, but it is such a hard journey for a lot of people to break through publishing that a lot of people have helped us on the way. So we know that. And so we're willing to help other people. You know, it's a community, and you know, most writers that I know are very, very giving of their time.
Absolutely. And, especially in Ohio. I know I'm giving a pimp to Ohio writers, but they're just lovely. I mean, we just have some amazing, amazing writers here.
Very nice. So thank you, ladies, so much for your thoughts. So now I'm going to talk about the giveaway.
Yay.
Jody and Natalie are going to give away a copy of their books, Thin Space. Yep. Those are the books. Hold on. Yep, those are the books. And so, yeah, Jody's giving away Thin Space, and Natalie's giving away Gone Too Far. And this is going to be USA and Canada only. And what you have to do in order to enter is this live chat is going to become a YouTube video. And when it becomes a YouTube video, I'd like you to comment on that video with a way to contact you. And that's it. That's all you have to do. I just need to know how to contact you if you win. And this giveaway ends next Monday, which is like the 17th, the 18th, next Monday. And then I'll pick a winner. So thank you, girls, again so much. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. We did too. Yeah.
Yes, and I will see you later.
Bye. Okay. Thank you. Bye.